the DNA test that shattered our family. I raised my brother's children for 12 years. The day my reality cracked. 12 years ago, when I married Laura, I thought I had won the lottery of life. We bought a small house in a quiet American suburb, the kind with tree-lined streets and neighbors who wave when they grab the mail. I worked in it. Laura worked part-time at a local clinic, and our lives felt ordinary in the best possible way. When our daughter Emma was born, then our son Jacob 2 years later, I believed this was what happiness was supposed to look like. Tired, busy, but full of small, warm moments. If someone had told me that a simple DNA test would burn that picture to the ground, I would have laughed it off. Those things happened in online stories, not to people like me. But one ordinary weekend, with a half-off promotion and a curiosity about my ancestry, I clicked Order Kit. That click didn't just change my life. It divided it into before and after. The perfect suburban illusion. From the outside, we could have been a brochure for a perfect middle-class family. Saturdays were for soccer games and grocery runs, Sundays for pancakes and cartoons. Laura was the kind of mother other parents complimented, organized, patient, always prepared with snacks and a change of clothes. My brother Mark lived about 30 minutes away, and he visited often. He was charming in a way I never was, louder, funnier, always with some wild story from work or a weekend trip. He and Laura got along well. Too well, sometimes, I joked. They had similar humor, similar taste in music. They would argue about sports teams and then team up to tease me for my terrible cooking. I never saw a reason to question any of it. If anything, I was proud they liked each other. Family mattered to me. I thought we were building something solid, the kind of support system kids deserve. Looking back, the red flags were there. I just didn't want to see them. The DNA test that started everything. The DNA kit arrived in a plain box on a Wednesday. I remember because it sat on the kitchen counter for 2 days, buried under school permission slips and unopened mail. On Friday night, after the kids went to bed, I finally opened it. It felt silly, like a novelty. I'd heard coworkers talk about discovering distant cousins and unexpected heritage. That was all I expected. Laura laughed when she saw me swabbing my cheek. "You know those things never work right," she said, pouring herself tea. I shrugged and joked that maybe I'd find out I had royal blood. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Back then, I chalked it up to a long day. I mailed the kit, forgot about it, and went back to my routine. Work, kids, chores, life. Weeks later, an email popped up. "Your DNA results are ready." I opened it at my desk, expecting a colorful pie chart. What I got instead was a hole in the floor. The results that didn't make sense. The ancestry breakdown was exactly what I expected, nothing surprising there. I scrolled lazily, more amused than interested, until I noticed the DNA matches section. At the top were my parents, labeled correctly. Below them, a cluster of relatives I recognized. Then I saw a section that made my stomach tighten. Close family, possible child. 2 profiles, Emma and Jacob, except they weren't labeled as child. They were flagged as no direct match found. According to the system, they weren't genetically related to me at all. My first thought was that it had to be a glitch. I refreshed the page, logged out, logged back in. I even checked the help section, my hands shaking. The more I read, the less room I had to hide. The app was clear. These children, the ones who called me dad every morning, did not share my DNA. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen, listening to the dull roar of the office around me, feeling like I had stepped out of my own life. Confronting the impossible truth. That night, I printed the results and drove home in a fog. Laura was in the living room reading when I came in. The kids were asleep. I sat across from her, hands clenched around the papers so tightly they crumpled. She noticed right away. "What's wrong?" I asked her as calmly as I could to explain why the DNA test said Emma and Jacob weren't mine. The color drained from her face. For a second, she didn't speak. Then she tried to laugh it off, saying those tests were inaccurate. But her eyes were wide, and there was a tremor in her voice. I pressed her, told her I double-checked everything, that my parents came up correctly, that the odds of this being a mistake were practically zero. The room felt smaller with every word. Finally, she broke. Tears pooled in her eyes. She whispered, "Please don't ask me this." That was the moment I knew the truth existed, and that I was going to hate it. My brother's betrayal. When Laura finally spoke, it came out in fragments. 12 years ago, early in our marriage, she and Mark had gotten too close during a rough patch between us. I had been working long hours, distracted and impatient. One night, after a family gathering where we argued over something small, I left early. Mark stayed. She insisted it only happened a few times, always when we were fighting, always when alcohol blurred the edges. She swore she never planned it, never meant to hurt me. But when she found out she was pregnant with Emma, she convinced herself the timing worked. Told herself the child was mine. The same story repeated with Jacob. I asked the question I already knew the answer to. Are the kids Mark? She nodded, sobbing. In that moment, it wasn't just my marriage that shattered. My trust in my own brother, the person I had grown up with, shared rooms and secrets with, collapsed completely. This wasn't just infidelity. It was a double life built inside my own family. The fallout, choosing the children over the lie. The days after the confession were a blur of anger, silence, and closed doors. I confronted Mark, and his reaction was a mix of guilt and defensiveness. He admitted everything, said it just happened, that he thought I'd never find out. Hearing him describe a decade-long deception as something accidental felt like a new kind of wound. I moved into the guest room while I tried to decide what to do. Lawyers were mentioned. Custody, divorce. Family gatherings became battlegrounds, with my parents caught in the crossfire, torn between two sons. Through all of this, Emma and Jacob still ran to me when I came home. They still asked me to help with homework, still hugged me goodnight without hesitation. They didn't know about DNA tests or betrayals. To them, I was just Dad. One evening, Jacob fell asleep on my chest while we watched a movie. His small hand gripped my shirt. In that moment, I realized something. Biology had nothing to do with the love I felt for these children. Rebuilding boundaries. And the moral of the story. In the end, I filed for divorce. Laura and I now share legal responsibilities for the kids, but I made it clear to the court and to her that I wanted to remain in their lives. My decision surprised everyone. Friends told me I was too forgiving. Some said I should walk away and start fresh. But the children were innocent. They never asked to be born into a web of lies. Mark and I are no longer in contact. My parents see their grandchildren, but they know the boundaries. Mark is not allowed near them unless they are old enough to decide for themselves. Trust, once broken like this, doesn't grow back the same. This experience taught more than one lesson. Betrayal often hides behind ordinary routines. Truth, no matter how painful, is better than comforting lies. Parenthood is defined by presence, sacrifice, and love, not just DNA. Loyalty means protecting those who depend on you, even when you are the one who has been hurt. I still struggle some days, but I sleep knowing I chose the children over my pride. A life after the shattered truth. Life now is quieter, less picture-perfect, but more honest. I rent a smaller place nearby so the kids can move between homes easily. We have new routines, board games on Fridays, long walks on weekends, honest conversations when they ask difficult questions. One day, when they are old enough, I will tell them the full story, carefully, without turning their hearts against anyone. They deserve the truth, but they also deserve the chance to choose how they see their own origins. If there is a message in what happened to me, it is this. Secrets rot the foundations of any relationship, no matter how charming the people involved seem. Real love requires honesty, even when the truth might cost you what you want most. I lost a marriage and a brother, but I refused to lose the children I had raised. In choosing them, I chose the kind of man I want to be, flawed, wounded, but still standing on the side of responsibility and love.